You found us. What about this idea?
Gotta listen to this show. Why?
Because it's about the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs.
Oh, nailed it.
I didn't even look at the wall.
Nailed it.
I didn't even look at the
All
wall.
right, listen, honestly, this is a show. It's different than other shows about entrepreneurship.
It's real. It's real. Real stories.
Is it?
We tend to talk very real.
I love
And
it.
so do our guests. So come have fun with us.
Second half.
Second half.
What about this idea?
What about this idea? We've learned all about Josh coming from Bismarck, North Dakota, coming to the big city, spending some time in the world.
It's so pretty out the windows here today.
It really is.
It is. Oh, speaking of, I forgot about my move to the Twin Cities. So after I graduated from the U,
Okay.
we were apartment hunting, myself and my roommate buddy at the time, and we ended up just down the road here at Riverwalk, 3 blocks down from here.
Exactly.
And spent 2 years there, which was the best thing ever.
Was it nice at the time, or was
No,
it?
it was pre everything.
Yeah.
Except for Monte Carlo and JD Hoyt's. You know,
Right.
it was
Well,
for
those
sure.
that's all you need,
Cousins.
really.
And Cousins. Yeah, exactly. Those are still the places.
Those
we
are my
like.
2 favorites, for
Those
sure.
are still the places. Yeah,
That's true.
That's all you need,
Anyway,
really.
I had to share
Cousins.
that this is my hood. We actually.
The VU. I mean, there was always.
I might have driven down here from Fargo, North Dakota, with some buddies when we all turned 18. Or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
Maybe.
of course.
That's a possibility.
Not
Yeah.
my kind of place. That was a different era for this part
It
of
was.
town.
Yeah, it was the
Pre-North Loop.
pre-hipster.
Yeah, the renaming of it. It used to
And
be the
that
warehouse
too.
district.
Just the
right?
warehouse district. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
exactly.
like, don't go there.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't over by the Target Center also called the
Rebranded.
Warehouse District?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of
Okay.
extends
It's
to
like
the
All
a
right,
big
okay.
warehouse district, but shout out Riverwalk because we were dead set on moving to Uptown, which Uptown at the time was still the cool spot.
That's where.
Yeah.
That's where we
And
lived.
Riverwalk down here though was I'll never forget it. It was $1,100 a month for a 2-bedroom, and it was a similar price as anything else we looked at, and it was right on the river, so we loved Riverwalk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
was
down here
fun.
as well now, as an older person, right? So
Yeah.
I never lived in the city. Now I do.
I like it.
And
Which
have
which spot?
In Paxson.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, just down the
We
street.
we bought the first condo in the 730 lofts over here. The
Oh, did
orange
you?
Building, yeah.
Yeah.
So we lived there when the Twin Stadium was getting built.
Oh my
So
God.
we had season tickets for the first 2 years.
You're not still
Love
living
that.
No, twins and a Vizsla dog made us move to
there. Okay.
St. Louis Park. But our house search was based on the bike trail. So I would live down here in the North Loop when we were living down here, and I'd just bike to shop houses.
Oh, sure.
Because we wanted to be off the bike trail. So I just wanted to know.
It's even gotten better since then.
Yeah, I know. So
This was voted one of the best biking cities in the
it's always number 1 or
US.
2 with
Yeah.
Portland, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still
at
can't
us.
figure it out. Wasn't I just saying that the other day? Okay, if I were to get on my bike and want to go to
You could, yeah.
Linden Hills, that's where I wanted to go. I know I can get from here to Linden Hills, but I have no idea how to do it. So
Follow the lakes.
follow the lakes.
Josh knows.
I know.
Just follow the lakes.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh, let's talk about this last transition into this current company.
Yes.
Why did you choose cannabis?
Well, it's actually a pretty easy answer. It is. Everything else is a little complex, I think, when you're talking about why do you do something in entrepreneurship. But in 2017, I was with my second my second owned entrepreneurial company, the sales rep firm, right?
Yeah.
And I had set up a nice business model that I liked, and I was basically having monthly meetings, and the rest of the time I would just kind of
How many employees are,
just kind of I was representing a brand in California, Nomad. Shout out to Nomad Mobile Accessories. They make the cool kind of iPhone cases and stuff.
Yep.
And then I had a Chinese factory that I was representing directly in the Best Buy at the same time. So that was kind of what the background of that business was. And I was golfing a lot and doing a lot of yoga, like you're joking
But
about.
I got to ask some particulars about a business like that, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Like how many employees did you have?
Myself.
Just yourself?
Yeah.
And without getting into how much money did you make, but what kind of revenue did you have to make a business like that work?
Yeah, I mean, so in this case, doing what I did was probably only possible because of what I did before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Meaning I had plenty of relationships. And
You'd already made the relationships so you could run the business and have a relatively small number of
correct
things that you were repping.
Yeah, because that's one thing I learned with all my experience working with Apple retail. I had a lot of the Kickstarter.com was all the new stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So I talked to basically all the Kickstarter kids, I call them, coming out of there. And most of them had too much overhead. Most of them would raise $5 or $10 million.
Yeah, that's tough.
And then hire 10 engineers and not have a product to sell for 7 years.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot. So I was deathly afraid of too much overhead. So I'm like, I have all this experience. I know how to do everything because I had been the product and sales and logistics. I've done all of it.
Yeah.
So just like when I bought my new house in St. Louis Park, I wanted to mow my own lawn, do my own snow, do my own everything, and then figure out what I want to
North Dakota.
And then figure out what I want to hire out though. I was doing it more for like what's worth the time.
Which do I hate the most?
Yes, exactly. So in that case, like I started doing everything, and then it just worked. There's plenty of times where it's like I should hire hire some staff, and I'm like, do I want to take 2 months to train them, or do I just do it myself because I know how to do it? Right. So I was in a unique position that way.
That was not a business that you wanted to scale in any way? It was just good enough as it.
I knew that business did not need to like have a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
Like I knew that going into it, and
yeah.
so that made me comfortable to be able to take that leap. And again, I went 12 months without making.
When you
any
moved
money.
out of it, did you just kill it? Was the business dead then?
No. So
sell it.
Nope. So let's get into the cannabis. So I kind of have that business humming. I like to say, meaning it's just pretty low maintenance. It's just pre-existing business with Best Buy.
Yeah.
Right? And in 2017, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with brain cancer. Okay. So this is what makes the Stigma story so easy to describe the inspiration around it, because that was that. So beings I had a free time, and I'm just joking, but the family had asked me to kind of look into alternative options.
Sure.
Where chemo and radiation is the game plan, as always, with cancers. She was given 14 months to live with the diagnosis that she had if she did chemo and radiation. And I spent the first few days after learning the diagnosis, and it didn't take more than one day to really understand that there's a lot of people using cannabis to fight cancer.
This is how we connected and why I wanted to talk to you. Actually, I love this. I had forgotten about this part of it.
So this is really what I learned. And so I went down a rabbit hole for weeks, and continuously after that, even till this day still, of just understanding what's going on out there. But what quickly came to light was that there were actually success stories where they're using THC and CBD to fight cancer, not to use it as just like a side effect relief, from like chemo, right? Like vaporizing the volcano,
right?
Which the volcano vaporizer, by the way, shout out to Storrs and Bickel, is the #1 vaporizer anybody should ever have.
Okay, there you go.
Saw that on a documentary back in the old California medical days from the early 2000s. Like when you'd prescribe a cancer patient weed.
Yeah.
You don't want them to smoke it. You want them to vaporize out of the volcano.
Yeah.
That's separate from this. But yeah, so there's a gentleman up in Canada named Rick Simpson, and he actually got eventually kicked out of the country.
Out of Canada?
Yeah, but
they don't kick people out of Canada.
I know. You must have been really bad
for being smart.
This is correct. I mean, that's actually one example of how unique and weird cannabis is treated.
Was he in BC?
He was in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Oh, I'm heading there in a couple weeks.
Oh, yes.
Really? I'll go check out all his the dust he left.
I got to give him some credit with.
Okay, so say this gentleman's name again.
So Rick Simpson.
Rick Simpson.
Which in the 90s in Nova Scotia, he was diagnosed with skin cancer. He had cancer right here on his face.
Okay.
And for some reason, he didn't want the treatment that he was given by normal Western medicine at the time. He remembered a 1970s radio station describing how marijuana, which we can talk about that, which we don't use that term here, but was
all good.
used
We're
for
talking through the history. I like it.
But there was research coming out of the University of Mississippi showing all these benefits.
That prior to its illegal criminalization.
In the middle of the war on drugs, the federal government actually was using the University of Mississippi to do research.
Okay.
And Nixon's administration was trying to use that research to then pinpoint a connection between disease and crime with marijuana. They were trying to do this.
Okay.
All the doctors from that study came back and told the White House, and actually the opposite.
Doesn't seem to be there.
And so they just kind of buried the lead.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But anyway, that was one of the learnings that I spent a couple hours.
I love that.
on the deep rabbit hole dive. And so Rick Simpson remembers this. So he's got a bunch of outdoor of marijuana cannabis plants growing.
Yeah.
And he decides he's going to go get the oil off of the flower. Okay, by way of extracting it using alcohol.
Yep.
Okay? And when you do that with like a big like jar of nugs or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But if you put alcohol in there and let it sit, and then you vaporize it off. In his case, he used a rice cooker.
Okay.
Just to kind of like slowly heat off all the alcohol leaves, and then what's left is all of the actual medicine from the flower of the plant.
Yep.
Right. And he put that right on his face, and 7 days later it was gone.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was his aha. I
can't wait.
That was his aha moment.
Yeah.
And so fast forward for a couple of years, it seems like probably he was then spreading the word on this to the point where the local community that had stage 4 cancer patients were showing up to his house. There's a documentary out there called Run from the Cure that I watched. You can sort of find it now, but they pull it off of YouTube every couple of years or something.
Interesting.
But anyway,
Hide that stuff.
there's a real documentary with like the local news channel up there interviewing him, and he was putting it in syringes, oral syringes. Looks like black tar. And you would rub it in your gums, and that's your treatment. And you do that every 4 hours or something like this. Just a high dose of cannabis in your body.
Of all of the
this.
cannabinoids, like mostly have they isolated kind of THC,
No. In
CBD,
fact, like
CBN?
the therapeutic, you don't want to isolate anything for therapy.
Yeah, you want the
that
full spectrum
of the plant. We'll save that for later. But yeah, so then you can argue like, should you have different strains or genetics? And probably like that's more research needed, right?
Yep.
Actually, fast forward to a woman that I know who makes her own medicine now. She uses 5 different plants into one RSO. RSO, Rick Simpson oil. RSO is what is that, like the street name of this.
Okay.
You've seen RSO out there. You could go ask dispensary people for sure, like in Colorado. You have any RSO? Nobody carries it because it costs too much, takes too much labor and love to make it.
Yeah,
It's hard. It takes a lot of time to make it.
Yeah.
But it's probably the best medicine that we could find.
Just out of curiosity, does it have enough THC in it then to get you high?
Oh, there's too much THC in it.
Yeah, okay. Just curious. Yeah.
You'll be cancer-free, but not quite present.
No, there's for sure. I mean, there's a tolerance you build up, and we can talk about that. But but so Rick Simpson is literally having stage 4 cancer people that were sent home to die, living for years on cannabis. Now I can't use the term cure or anything, right? But something definitely was helpful there, right?
Yeah.
And so back to my mother-in-law. So the family, after again within a couple days, I kind of learned what I just said.
Yeah.
And I kind of educated my family about this option, and they all agreed. And most importantly, Susie, my mother-in-law, said, "Yeah, let's do it." So she did it. And
I mean, what does she have to lose at this point,
exactly.
right?
You'd be surprised. You'd be so surprised though, because
people
since then
I've
talked to probably 100 stage 4 cancer patients in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Less than 10% of them will actually move forward down this path.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy because what you just said is what I was thinking. Like, what do you got to lose?
What do you got to lose if you've been given
are they at that point offering your mother-in-law any treatment?
Yeah,
Western
chemo and radiation, right?
Right.
And so that was offered. She so she had surgery. The good news for her brain cancer is that surgery was available, right?
Yeah.
So they could go in and actually get to it.
So now, if you talk to the surgeon, is the surgeon going to say, no, the thing that cured her or fixed her, led to this?
Right.
Is the surgery that I perform not the thing that you're doing?
Yeah.
Like, is that?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, surgery, surgery to me is one thing. Chemo and radiation is a second thing,
Fair.
two different things.
Yep.
I'm a big believer in surgery if you can, because that is a cool facet of Western medicine. I don't believe in all the Western medicine tools over here, though.
Yep.
The pills and the chemos and the things like that.
Yeah.
But so in this case, it'd be more of the oncologist in this example.
I mean, I have direct experience with this now.
Our doctor, we switched doctors.
Okay.
So let me just say, day one, back to Susie and her cancer battle. Day one was the surgery, is what I'll say here, and that day I'll never forget calling my business partner, who's our CFO at Stigma now, but was also my business partner in video games and the iPhone stuff.
Okay.
Known him for 20 years. I'm like, hey, we need a pound of OG Kush. Because the family said yes, and a pound is pretty.
That's
healthy
a lot,
and
probably not exactly legal.
And so we're.
I said probably.
Yes, yeah.
We're not sure.
It truly is a question.
Right.
Yeah.
But here you have a family who's just trying to save a life or do the best, right?
Right.
And we have to worry about that shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I was mentally able to just not.
Ever since I was a kid, I've thought
that.
why did we criminalize a plant? That's been out there forever, but why?
Yeah, we can get into all that.
Yeah, I bet you know.
I don't know everything. I just explain what I think I learned, right?
Yeah.
And so we did. We got a pound of OG Kush, my brother-in-law and myself. We were like Walter White and Jesse, making that batch with the rice
beating
cooker.
each other up every now and again and stuff. Yeah.
Did you have a camper?
Yeah, we did. That would have been the best, the RV.
Totally. Before the
dissolving
movie.
people in acid.
Yeah, right.
That kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Whatever you're into.
For sure. Yeah. So she did. She started it. She started that protocol kind of week one, and I won't take you through the whole journey there, but the net result was, instead of living for give or take 14 months and feeling crappy all the time and in bed all the time, she lived for 24 months and was quality of life until the last week she was kayaking with her grandkids. So
okay.
Wow.
So
did she have surgery?
Yep, she had surgery.
Okay.
Yep.
And what eventually got her? Was it?
She had glioblastoma. You do a surgery.
Glioblastoma is my aunt just died of it.
Okay, it's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, it's the way I liken it is that you need to kind of keep the nuclear warfare happening.
Yeah.
All day, every day, because of how fast. If you've got 10 little cells in there, it just kind of goes real fast.
Super aggressive.
Yeah. And so, but our experience was unmatched, right? And so that was the inspiration for potentially a cannabis business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at the same time was the hemp farm bill of 2018.
Right.
Yep.
Which is legalizing hemp nationwide. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, maybe we should do something about this. I was mostly wanting to start the business because I spent all of 2017 asking everybody in the Midwest that I knew, have you ever heard of CBD? Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of your endocannabinoid system? Your endocannabinoid system in your body is why it works.
And what does that mean?
So it's been given this term endocannabinoid because endogenously, internally in our bodies, there is a network, a receptor network, a system that is designed for cannabis as a supplement coming into our bodies. But it's endogenous because we actually the system's already there. It's runner's high.
Yeah.
Runner's high,
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that is your own body's firing up that system. Okay, you're naturally turning that on with, I always butcher it, but THC is made in our body under the name of animalmide or something like that.
Yeah, just mumble and they don't know.
But that is runner's high. So I'll remember 2008, my wife and I took a long trip, and we were in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And my wife she was pretty straight-laced Baptist girl growing up, and I got her to the Seed Museum, the Amsterdam weed museum, basically.
Okay.
And they got this guy in there that's famous. I forgot his name, but let's call him Larry. Old big
Doubt
Larry.
it, but yeah.
Big Larry with a gray ponytail.
Larald.
With yeah, exactly. There's this big glass globe ball, right, where he would put weed up here with a hairdryer and blow and vaporize this whole glass thing, so it's vapor. And then on one end, there's a little spigot that you can and so my wife did that. And we left the museum, she's like, oh, this is what runner's high is. She made the connection right away.
Sure.
Also experienced that in Amsterdam.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
that's a fun experience. And
I was like, what is this?
Yeah, yeah.
is fun.
So those.
I had some experiences in Amsterdam. They were a little different. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, so I don't know what happens in Amsterdam. Doesn't have to stay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that network, that endocannabinoid system, when it's turned on, its goal is to create homeostasis.
Right.
Okay, and so that to me means if you have stage 4 cancer in your body, that system's gonna be focused on that. Okay, more than your pinky hurts today or something like this, right? Depending on every human body's gonna have a little different out of balance thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, so
I'd say the energy behind the cannabis in that case is being mostly given to fighting that cancer.
Gotcha.
That's how I would say that.
And so the product turns that on.
Yes. And so you can supplement.
Helps fight.
You can supplement exercise, is how I like to say it now. If you get
supplement.
Yeah, you're supplementing.
Not completely
so if you then exercise, that increases it.
If you do both at the same time, now you're just synergistically really turning that thing on at a high level. I actually vape and take CBD. I take THC and CBD before my hot yoga classes. Before.
Okay.
So I'm right into it.
And I just learned. I'm learning about this. So CBD helps take down the weirdness of the THC.
Yeah, turns off.
Is that technically right?
Yes.
Okay.
CBD turns things off and THC turns things on.
I like this simplification though. Yeah, I mean, I've been given CBD because I don't handle THC well, and I haven't for a very long time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you may want to just try a high dose of CBD.
Yeah.
And then a super low dose of THC.
That's the ones that I've found that I actually do enjoy.
Yeah, because THC is that endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
It's described as the key to open it up, the door.
Well,
and then after that, the CBD will work better too.
Very unscientific here, but the world is...
I'm learning so much.
The world is full of chemicals, like plant-based chemicals of all sorts, and things in animals. You eat them. The stuff that interacts with us, we have a system for it. If we didn't have that system in place, the stuff in marijuana would just pass through us like does any other plant, right? So the reason heroin affects us is because we have a system in place to take morphine or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever the
Xanax
whatever the initial the main chemical is, you already can. There's a receptor for it. If there wasn't, it's ineffective. It does nothing. So that's true.
I see what you're saying. So somehow or another, all the drugs have
every single drug
some creation inside you.
Because every single green thing you see out there, you could smoke it and something would go into you, right? But if there's no receptor system in you for that to do anything, it's either harmful or it's just flushed through. So all of the stuff that we find that are naturally occurring substances that help or affect us in some way, whether that's getting us high or actually helping out with things, we already have a system in place in our body that can accept those, or they wouldn't have an effect. That's the scientific part of it that I know to be true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's doctor.
Well, that's why on the one hand you've got people getting really, really granular on what systems are in place in us and how and what little chemicals, because I forget the one that cannabis is in your body that THC is in your body.
Yeah, the name of it. I forgot.
That's the one he mumbled.
Yeah, I kind of forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot the exact spelling.
Starts with an A.
But endorphins we create endorphins. That's also a runner's high in a certain way.
The theory is that we used to call it endorphins. Now it's actually the endocannabinoid system.
Sure.
Technically two different systems, but there's a similar vibe, I think.
And I'm sure that they probably didn't know exactly what was going on.
And even
there.
still today, like I don't think it's all definitive. It's evolving research either way.
Because the minute difference between one tiny little bit of change in that chemical versus the other one can mean the difference between it affecting us or not affecting us.
Yeah.
Just like
It's organic chemistry.
all of the viruses that exist that are like, will decimate some bird population or something like that. And we're like, that doesn't hurt us. It's one little marker away from the one that will hurt us, but it's different. So it doesn't affect us,
Just don't eat the mushrooms out in the woods.
No, not unless you know what you're doing.
Well, we could talk about that.
Okay, but let's talk about your business. So you then started
I'd be in for that too.
You really started creating cannabis products before it was cool to create cannabis products
in the Midwest.
Right.
I mean, obviously California and Colorado
they were out ahead.
That was a thing. But then going back to what I was saying earlier about my belief in how you may want to evolve your own career path is to go with stay in your lane or build on things that you know. Is I spent, before we just got into cannabis, I probably spent 6 months kind of deliberating on how and what.
How to get into cannabis?
Yes. Why, how, what, where.
Did you know you wanted to get into cannabis? You just didn't know what aspect of it you wanted to get into?
It was a little, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, so there was, do you want to be a grower? I'm like, well, I don't know how to grow
things.
Yeah, no, I mean,
that was not a short bridge from where you came from.
That's farming. I mean,
you could be a lab, you need a lot of money and I'm not a lab coat guy.
Yeah.
But what have I been doing is I've been making product. And selling product for 20 years. So when I looked at it, that was all obviously the answer. I spent a lot.
That's so damn deliberate.
Yeah, spent a lot
to think about it, to get somewhere and make a plan. It sounds so smart.
It is. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it
probably didn't go according to plan the entire time.
None of it's easy.
It never does.
None of it's easy, but I think one of the key points I would make too along that, as part of this inspiration to starting the company was, I'm walking around my kitchen one day, my wife's there, and I'm like, I think I need to start a business here because nobody effing knows anything about anything.
Right.
Again, it was more about the want to educate than it was about wanting to sell product. This is how it all really started. And I'm not just saying that for like.
Well, I mean, that's actually how this business, DevineFox, started. Is I love being educated on things, it comes from a natural desire to want to have conversations where you actually look people in the eye, which is like the first thing I noticed about her.
I'm very curious.
We had a conversation, and after like 30 minutes, I'm like, this is a story we've told many times on here, but I'd wanted her to be a guest on a show. And after about 30 minutes, I'm like, no, I want to do a show with you as a co-host because you actually do get into this whole talking to people, figuring things out.
I love the variety, and I also,
that's good.
I'm an entrepreneur as well, so I loved it. There's always a nugget, right? There's something you persevered through, or the way you started. That isn't the way I did it, and I might run into a point in my business that's like, wait, that Josh did it this way. This might be a way to go.
I hear so many of these.
Right?
These shows are out there, and not to say our show is like way. It's way better. But I hear there's so many of them are so not curious. They're just like, tell me your story. I've read your story already. And then it's just like they're telling the exact same thing. This is all about curiosity. You're really killing me with it.
You're really good. But you use it in a way to create, which is a lot of times people just use it to pontificate on platitudes, but you're using it to create and to
what
build.
about this idea is strong in you?
Yeah, the force is strong in you.
That's that invisible aura or energy that we talked about.
The force is strong with. Okay, so tell me. So you self-funded this venture.
Yes.
So you brought us in some drinks. What else do you have in your line? And my curiosity now is what you learned and all the turning on the system, the
The endocannabinoid system.
endocannabinoid system,
It's a tough one.
cannabinoid system. Do your products do that? Are
Yes,
they intended to do that?
Yes, they.
For the
they
balance of CBD, THC.
Yeah. So what we launched with in 2018 was CBD only.
Yeah.
We couldn't sell THC around Minnesota, and we actually bought a property in Michigan. We were going to open up a dispensary in Michigan. And then, because we didn't think that this, unfortunately, this is a very political topic. The business side of this was tied up with politics.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful. You have to be careful about saying what benefit these things can bring people.
That's the FDA.
all of
that
this stuff. So we don't want to get you trapped.
No.
in
But I don't want to again make it political. But in this state, there was only one political party that was going to make this happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was that. So we didn't think that the state Senate in Minnesota was going to change, and it did by one vote up in the Iron Range. They pulled it off, meaning legalization of THC happened in 2022 earlier than we thought. We thought we were going to have to wait till at least.
But getting to the point of being able to use it and sell it legally is still another thing that's
yes. And then
up.
there's nuance, and maybe we'll save this for the other podcast. But there's a hemp industry and then a licensed dispensary cannabis grow industry, and those are two different things. And there's a lot of nuance, not nuance, but there's a lot.
That is
there's a confusing part.
And a great topic for the other show. I mean,
Yeah. So we launched a CBD only, full spectrum CBD.
Oh, really?
Which is actually what it's called. So we'll save that again.
Oh, no kidding.
But no, we launched CBD only products because, again, I learned that I didn't know anything about CBD until 2016, 17. And then I learned and I tested it on myself and all of our families. It does help quite a bit with anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety. And so it'll turn your brain off. So if you have a bunch of CBD in your body and it's 3 a.m., instead of having 12 thoughts, you might have 2 or 3, which allows you to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect,
that's
but
pretty common thing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Should get the old CBD pump.
Right.
Mainline it.
Exactly. And so we wanted to be, at the time, I was actually licensed with Carhartt, the brand that makes clothes.
Yep.
But we were making heavy-duty iPhone cases. And so we were the manufacturer with the license to do that, right? So I was going out to Dearborn, Michigan quarterly to Carhartt's kind of corporate sales and marketing meetings. And this is about a year before the Farm Bill. And I kept hearing from them how they were tired of Dick's Sporting Goods screwing up the merchandising and not knowing their product. And so they were opening up all their own Carhartt branded stores. We have one at the Mall of America here in Minnesota.
There's one in Amsterdam.
And there's the work in progress in Amsterdam. I've been in there. I was just in the one in...
Really?
Yeah.
There is, yeah.
No shit.
I was just in the one
It's been there for years.
Yeah. I was just in Florence has one too, actually. Yeah. So we were in the middle of that. I took this long, hard look at how to enter the cannabis space. The only option we had was the hemp-based CBD at the time, right? And so 2019, we decided to open up Minnesota's first retail showroom for CBD, hemp cannabis products technically, but it was all Stigma branded stuff, unlike a corner shop that was kind of reselling stuff.
Yep.
It was just our own showroom experience. So we had thousands of people come in. Our North Loop right over here by JD Hoyt's. We had 1,000 people come in 2019, and we had a vision of probably having more dispensary kind of ideas at the time. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And everything.
Did that change things?
Everything changed at that point in time. And so the vast majority of hemp-derived CBD companies, definitely more than 50%, probably higher than that, went out of business during COVID. So what I decided to do with our team is do what we could control. This is one of my yoga.
Oh, yeah, that's very yoga.
Spiritual, you're doing the best with what you were dealt, and you're doing the best with what you were dealt. I'm not judging you guys, but I'm going to just do what I can control.
Right.
Which in that moment in time was elevating, no pun intended, all of our branding, our assets, our online game, all the things that we could do. And so we went online only and were able to sell enough online compared to what we were doing before to sustain ourselves, just to kind of, I liken it to like a turtle in a shell, just survive.
Right.
Just survive
I like
COVID.
it. This is actually, this is a show about
It's a pivot.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And that is an important lesson.
Yeah, so
One that,
you got
like, I
control what
didn't
you can
learn
control,
in
you know.
certain ways through COVID. Like, I didn't know how to protect my little business, my construction business during COVID.
Yeah.
And I watched it wither and die and
Yeah, and some
stood there confused the whole time.
But I mean, you know.
I really was. I was like, what the hell do I do? Like, how do I fix this?
Yeah, and there's certain industries where
You can't put construction online.
Yeah,
so.
there's certain industries exactly.
Then
Yeah.
pivot didn't
No,
work.
the
Wouldn't have
pivot
worked.
was totally different. Plus, I had 3 kids, and like there were a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But still, I did feel. I mean, as an entrepreneur, a business I had run for a long time that had been humming along pretty well, to watch it completely collapse around me, I really was looking around like, I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to get any help, and I don't. None of it makes any sense.
Yeah, everybody was just doing their best at that
Yeah.
time. We're lucky, whereas cannabis, alcohol, video games, but cannabis is more or less recession-proof.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, and so what happened with us is our sales online went up enough, and we were lucky to have just enough of a base of customers from the
got a great
pre-COVID
name.
days. Yep, we do. So
I mean, that's a big start.
And I did-
So we were just selling CBD
yeah,
products?
that's all it was. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all we could sell legally at the time. Let me rewind 9 months though, because I didn't finish the thought. I'm in the kitchen with my wife, and I'm like, I got to start a business here, right? And she's like, well, why are you wanting to do it, right? And so it took me a few hours later. I was in the shower where all great ideas come. I don't know if you've heard that before.
The
but
best
the
ideas.
best ideas usually come to me in the shower.
Yeah.
And
one of the many places.
yes,
I mean, one of the few, I should say.
like I want to, I was just kind of replaying like my last 9 to 12 months of like experience. Like nobody knows anything about this thing. 2 generations of humans on Earth got lied to about this thing. Think. I want to destigmatize it. I also was a marketing major, so I wanted 5 letters, 2 syllables. So I visualized stigma coming out of that thing. So I visualized stigma coming out of that
DevineFox.
word, and then what sealed it was, oh shit, every flower on the planet has a stigma in it, and we were selling flowers. And
Love that.
so that was kind of the dual meaning of the brand.
I got it.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember the stigma. Is that
You know,
is the stamen and the
yeah, like it's a there's a stigma in every.
there's a stigma in there?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
love
So
it.
anyway,
I love it, yeah.
so COVID, yeah,
Like
that's right.
flowers. I'm like, whoa.
So COVID hit, and we went online, and we were just surviving. We weren't crushing it by any means. We were surviving, but we did elevate all the brand assets, and such that just coming out of COVID, Minnesota legalized hemp-derived THC.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right, and so
Timing was good there.
yeah, so that was the best thing that happened to our business, and I couldn't control that, but what we did control allowed us to then hit the ground running.
I mean, you
super
had
fast.
everything already set
Done
up,
and
a
done.
distribution system.
All the we kind of had
You had an online presence. You had manufacturing. You had everything ready for this gift from the Iron Range.
Yes, exactly. We'll call it that.
And I mean, we do talk about this stuff. And the other show, I'm not a host on it, but I'm the producer of it. And I've sat in on a few shows, and I'm meeting all of these people in the industry. And none of this would have come about had there not been at least some cohort of people out there over a long period of time fighting to get here. But it does feel like it just like all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Cannabis is here.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
No. Shout out Ryan Winkler. Actually, I mean, there's one individual who pulled it. Like, if you want to give credit to one specific individual,
Is that here in Minnesota?
it would have been him. He was the majority leader at the state capitol.
I believe
And
I've
helped,
run into this
and he did
gentleman at political
town halls,
events.
educated a lot of people around the state. So as a cannabis entrepreneur, we supported everything he was up to because he was doing the work at the bureaucratic level, right? Somebody always has to kind of carry this torch.
from like 5 or 6 years ago.
It's
politics.
Yeah.
Younger.
I mean, he since has left, and he's actually, I think, in the industry now too, to be honest.
Funny.
But his team was instrumental in legalizing what is now being looked at across the United States of America as the model for
Yeah, we're really
THC
doing it
beverages
differently
in liquor
here.
stores. Yeah,
Yeah.
But that's one thing I would have never predicted either.
Yeah.
That Minnesota actually gets to be a leader in
Something.
So we leapfrog the whole thing,
outside
right?
of like Fortune 50 companies, but like
We used to be the nation's leader in education for a long time. The Minnesota Miracle. We have been a leader in healthcare for a very long time. So like we do have our things we do, and
at the high levels there.
and we do have a lot of really big companies that come out of Minnesota too. People
I
don't
think
realize.
that's pretty great in the sense that people did need to be educated, because I know this isn't the same, but it reminds me of nuclear power, right? It's like people have such a stigma about nuclear power that they're just not going to vote for it, even though it's probably the cleanest form of energy, right? We do have a problem with cleaning up the byproduct, but it's not. It's a very small amount, right? And we have a way of being able to deal with that. It reminds me of that, because it's like, I mean, at this age, I'm sure your mother-in-law was like this too. When they were the mothers, the idea of smoking pot or growing grass or having a bag of grass was so wrong to them.
Totally.
That is enduring in people's thinking, right?
Yeah, destigmatizing an entire nation.
It's really hard to destigmatize it.
It'll take 50 more years because it was 50 years of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
But meanwhile, a 12-pack of Coors Light's cool.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Poison,
liquor is
really.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
In Illinois, last year, $1.8 billion of revenue in cannabis, $1.7 billion in liquor.
Really?
Last year in Illinois. That's one of my favorite stats.
Seriously.
Less in liquor than in
And
cannabis?
I think Michigan might have just done the same thing. Yeah.
Well,
First of all, I would have
who
guessed it
owns-
was larger on the liquor side.
Yeah.
But
Well, I have a friend who owns, has owned for a while now in Montana. I think they're a little ahead of us, 2 cannabis shops. And I say, what's the number one thing they come in for? She goes, nobody can sleep. So it's like, suddenly that's the
Our
gateway
sleep
of getting a
gummies
lot of people
Our sleep
in.
gummies are our number one selling.
Yeah,
gummy.
I bet. Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. I love it.
Nobody
Yeah.
can sleep.
Well, we should consider letting our audience take a break.
We could go all night.
We can do
Yes.
this forever.
We can do this
You guys
forever.
want to talk about UFOs? You want to talk about quantum consciousness?
I do want to
I
talk about
do
all that
actually.
stuff.
String theory, the
That'd be-
whole
yeah, that'd
thing.
be
Yeah,
a-
I'm in.
I think we
Different
maybe
product.
have to do a different show.
We're going to have to do a
Different
show
one, yeah.
with product.
Yeah, I will bring the vapes
Yeah,
for
you
that
bring
one.
the
We'll
product,
have
and then we'll do a members only
We might just
show.
have to do like a bonus episode where
Yeah.
it's not where we let the entrepreneurship go for a minute and just
Yeah.
talk about life.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
like it.
In general.
Because, I was on a panel the other day, and it happened to be all women, and it was about accelerating your business, right? And I'm not sure what people expected when they came to this panel. They probably thought it would be a little bit more nuts and bolts, you got to hire a salesperson, or you have to make sure you have
right.
someone taking care of bookkeeping or whatever. And what it ended up being was, you got to take care of yourself, right? And it happened to be all women on the panel. I think that may have had something to do with it.
We can't say that, but yeah.
But at one point it came down to me, and the question was basically, what has made you successful? And I was on the end. I don't think she meant to put us in order of success, but I for sure was the least successful of all of them, right? But they talked about it all the way down, and I turned to the crowd and I said, did you expect to come here and learn that you needed to take care of yourself to be successful in your business, right? And they all said, no, we didn't, but we're so glad that you did say that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's absolutely without the doubt the fundamental of
Oh, it is. Yeah, it
being successful is that you have to be peace and zen, and you have to exude that into your product and into the people that work with you. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%. It's and we'll wrap it up, but
We have a couple more.
Sports metaphor again. It's going back to, if let's use NFL season just kicked off, right? So you're in the huddle with a quarterback who's under control and calm, or you're in the huddle with the quarterback who's deer in the headlights, right? Like, which way do you think the team's going to go? You know, in that example. So
I guess that stuff is really important.
Well, coming from North Dakota, who's your football team?
Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vikings guy.
This is your year. This is it, man.
It might be our year, but yeah, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself.
Not now that
before.
we talked about it. Every Vikings fan knows you can't.
I know, we don't-
You
we
can't
don't-
say
no.
anything positive about the team.
No.
We don't have that luxury because
Not
we don't
until-
win.
I mean, in the condition that they are right now,
They're really in good shape.
they're really in good shape.
I think you're right.
If a couple of key members get hurt, you're screwed. But
Yeah.
all right,
We're
you were gonna
hopeful.
you
We're
were gonna
hopeful.
say something even more fruitful, I think, and then we interrupted you again.
No, that's all right.
This is what we do.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
the free flowing pod. No.
It is. It is. We do have this sort of, what's your big idea portion of this that we've started. It feels like you've already not exhausted all the big ideas, but
What's next?
yeah. Do you have something next? Do you
have a big idea?
Yeah, that's yeah.
I put you on the
do.
spot there.
Well, you know what? Let me merge. This isn't a concrete answer, but let me merge
It's fine.
my business and my YouTube algorithm I joke about.
Yeah, what's this YouTube algorithm thing?
Well, to be honest, this is a way I take care of myself. Like a way to take my mind off of my business
Yeah.
on a day-to-day is listening to podcasts, to be honest, for the most part.
Oh, okay.
And which has then led me, and then depending on what you click on, obviously, that's where there's a lot of
And are
rabbit
you
holes
listening
go
to them
down.
on YouTube?
I do a lot of YouTube. I like because I like to watch too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do like to watch. So I do a lot of YouTube for that. But I guess what I think is going to be a very big happening in the next decade or less, depending on who you listen to, is quantum computing.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's
And so how does that? It's going to affect everybody in some capacity.
I can't even imagine.
I know.
Yeah.
So what I think, and at least what I hope, and again, this isn't a concrete like business idea, but what I think may happen is this may go back to the awakening too, is that I believe it's going to, the positive side of this, you can talk about all the negative AI stuff and the risks and the things and the things,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
But let's focus on the positives. And I think it's going to unlock and open up and further educate us to a level that we just can't even probably comprehend right now. Which, if you believe like I do, we're all down here to love each other and treat each other well and learn and evolve. I think that actually is going to help our entire society moving forward.
Pair that with AI, quantum computing and AI, I think that it will release us of the pressures of life, and we'll be able to do that a lot more.
Yeah, ideally
Yeah.
go back to the one of those phases where I always picture like in Italy where they're all sophisticated aristocrats because they have time to not worry about the day-to-day grind.
Because they have slaves to do that.
Maybe that's
I'm sure there's some Italians going, not the reality.
so better AI slaves than human slaves.
That's exactly right.
It's better to have AI
That's
slaves
exactly
than
right.
I
us.
wonder when my AI bot has worked out the deal with your AI bot and all the things get moved and sold and we're both just like,
Okay.
like, oh,
let's
just
hang
sitting on the
out.
beach,
Let's
just
hang out
working.
and
Yeah, for
chill
sure.
and
Yeah.
enjoy the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this the very last thing I'll say. This is the number one thing I think I'm into, which is consciousness. Okay, so this is like a buzzword, if depending on what
Totally.
kind of what circles you're running around.
Yeah.
But I believe us understanding more about what consciousness is, both our individual. I believe we have an individual consciousness, but I also believe there is a universal consciousness, and I think quantum computing, maybe all of that can kind of feed into a further more deep understanding of what consciousness is. Like that's what I'd like to spend the rest of my life figuring out.
So you guys talked about your religious upbringings before, and I didn't talk. I've joined just in the last couple of years a Unitarian Universalists church, which I had no idea, but I'm like really cultiverse. And I think most organized religion feels cultish to me. And this is so disorganized. I call it disorganized religion because there's no order to any of it.
There you go.
And I'm like, I love you, crazy bunch of misfits, because they don't get into the dogma of normal religion. But anyway,
Yeah.
we talked about this the other day, and we're talking about this, faith or religion versus spirituality kind of is what the thing was.
Yeah, I think those are two different things. Yeah,
Yeah, from my perspective, like we went around the whole circle and everyone talked about it a little bit, and everyone's got their own things, and most people grow up with this dogma from their youth that they were deeply in this religion or that religion, and you have to untrain yourself basically. And I wasn't, and I'm sure this has been said. I'm sure this is not a unique thought, but I think of religion is an attempt at answers. And in likelihood, answers you'll never get to, but the religion is trying to give you those answers anyway, whereas spirituality is just the ability to continually question, or is always a question and was always meant to be a question. And that's what, to me, so I understand what you're talking about, and I love...
The Great Awakening. That's what Mike Dooley calls it.
Yeah, we all need to...
I wonder if we can use... I hope in a certain way that we can accelerate our technology so that humans live their best lives, but that we never actually answer any of the very big questions.
I think we're not supposed to know, yeah.
I don't think it's
we are
important
supposed
for
to
us.
know.
I think what's important is, well, it's not good. Like, I don't think we're going to know because I don't think we're supposed to know, and I think we should just leave it at that. But if you can get rid of some of the daily struggles that people have, that would be awesome.
Yep.
If we can figure out ways to make
Let it go.
life on the planet better. But
Yeah.
Well, this was amazing.
yeah, any big ideas?
I don't know. I'm going to go into business with Josh, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to
We're gonna
build a
She's
business
out with
around.
me.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, another business. Why
just
not?
another
We're
one.
entrepreneurs.
No,
Consciousness
Something
studies.
about consciousness,
I
definitely.
really enjoyed
How
this.
to open up your pineal gland. That's real specific. But
All right.
Third eye.
Okay.
Looks like a little pine nut.
Stay tuned
that
for the
crazy?
members only bonus. We don't have a membership yet.
No, that's all right.
But we might, for us to get together and do that.
Yeah.
Pontificate on platitudes.
Yeah.
I like
Love
it.
it.
Well, thank
Thank
you. Guys.
you.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So
it's
grateful.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't cry. It's over.
Oh, you did it. You made it to the very end of the show. You know what you can do to help us? What can they do to help us? They can tell their friends how awesome this show is.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You know what else? And I don't know if people know this or don't know this, but like if you found us and you see us on socials somewhere, just hit repost or share it with your community.
Share, repost, follow. Isn't there a follow option?
Yeah,
of some
follow,
kind?
subscribe. We're not going to charge you anything.
No.
Just hit the subscribe button.
No,
It's
we
not gonna
just
hurt
need
you.
to create a community around entrepreneurism and how the real shit happens.
I like it. Well, because we're real. You said it in the intro.
Real.
We talk real. No, seriously, tell your friends. What a great show. Oh my gosh, these people are doing the best work ever. Yeah, right?
That's what you should say.
Yeah.
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 And just come back. Have fun with us. We love this.
We'll have someone, we'll interview someone cool next week too.
Someone completely different.
Yeah, from prison. Thanks.
We always have to have that.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.